All right, welcome back, Generals and Admirals. This is General Johnny, and today we are just going over this basically live stream that Slytherin put on, well, yesterday now, but on the 19th of May. So yeah, 16 hours ago on Slytherin TV. I think they hosted this, yeah, on Twitch. So, I've got the link in my Discord, but I know it's also been posted plenty of other places. But we're just going to go through real quick. If you didn't find the time to watch this yourself or whatever reason you just want a recap, I'm just going to go over briefly what they spoke about in this 30-minute kind of live stream. So we'll go ahead and get started. But before I do, of course, if you like Broken Arrow content, if you like tactics, strategy, RTS games in general, please consider following the channel, General Johnny Strategy. We are also partnered with BAArmory.net. We also have a Patreon that we just stood up. Plenty of benefits if you are one of the first to sign up there. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get this one started. So basically, they are talking largely in part of the kind of update and status of the PTE. So I don't know how long the PTE has actually been going on. I feel like it's been going on for like 2 months now. But it's been a while. And, one of my biggest things is I wanted to kind of hear how long they were going to have this PTE draw out. I think it is hurting their player base, in my opinion, because it takes 20 minutes to find a game often on the regular version. So they do mention that, how their performances on the PTE, they talk about, how much really they like the PTE and how much it's kind of feeding into the future updates. They do go over briefly kind of the new updates that they're going to have in the next year and kind of the glide path forward without giving any specific real dates or anything like that. So, yeah, and they also talk about the new Russia spec I believe is coming out. I think they said at the end of the summer. But yeah, and then they released some pictures there as well. So we'll go ahead, we'll just listen in on part of this and make a few comments. I think there's 3 or 4 places I'd like to stop, but I know they did mention in 3 or 4 weeks is what their goal is to release another update. So we'll see if that happens. But let's go ahead, just take a listen in here.
Again, what was the impact of the PT within the community? Of course, a larger impact both in terms of number of players, because we've seen the number of players going up, and also a lot of feedback coming to that.
Well, PT initially in the first days, it brought really a lot of attention to it. We've seen a spike of online on this experimental branch as we still see it as an experimental. So yeah, right now it has a steady interest every day. I would say that around 1/3 of all players are playing PT branch like every day.
Okay, so 1/3 and 2/3 are on the sort of the main branch.
Roughly, yes.
So talking about the player split, I think right before this is where they said that, the population has actually increased. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I feel like it has decreased. They said 1/3, 2/3 split or roundabout. So 1/3 on PT and 2/3 on the vanilla or normal version. So they're just kind of talking about kind of player count there. Fast forward to 13 minutes. I believe they talk a little bit more about the PT and their path forward.
Made by players about the single player modes, so campaign, and the idea is really to keep this intact and continue with, let's say, evolution of both, let's say, direction, and then we'll see where it will bring us.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that again the players will have a big sort of impact on that as well, because on one hand we want to keep the PT going because it helps us dramatically in developing new features and make sure they're properly tested before going into the main branch. So it's got a specific use, but how that use is going to be is going to be future proof is another subject we'll have to cover later. Big topic we had in the pipeline for a long time: observer mode, spectator mode. Different names people call it. Where are we with that?
Yeah, well, PT was a good thing that happened during the PT was the tournament, community-driven tournament, which brought quite some attention, and that's a good point for us to speak about observer spectator mode. It's really almost ready right now. We are finalizing like the reconnect for it.
There's going to be
So they talked a lot about, and I'm trying to find the portion where they say how long the PT is going to last, because I think that's the biggest question here. They talk a lot about in here the replay system. Here's the thing, or not the replay system, about the observer system. So I think they really want to get tournaments going. I think that they think if you get tournaments going, they'll get a lot more attention to the game. You'll have pro gamers going playing competitions, a lot more, there's a lot more marketability in that. But the only thing about it is, like, you have to start somewhere, and for like normal players that aren't going to be competing in these leagues or whatever, maybe they'll be watching them. Sure, that's awesome, but like, how hard is it to add a replay system? So number one thing I'd advocate for is timeline on the PTE, probably ending pretty soon, and maybe pop it up every, once a month or however. But I think the longer they extend this PTE, they're going to lose more players. And then the second thing is add a replay system. I think that's super easy, and I don't know, I think they kind of beat around this bush. They do at least address it, but we'll listen in a little bit more.
A decision at some point to sort of do we merge the branches back together.
See with updates, probably with some features, and see how it goes in the upcoming months. And yeah, that's the plan.
In terms of the split, what's the plan? Is it? I mean, one of the things we were discussing, in our recent calls is that where the community is split, it's actually about the split of the PTE and the main branch. There's going to be a decision at some point to sort of do we merge the branches back together and so on. And I see the comments again. Some players are saying, "Oh, we should have everyone back in the same branch," and some players are going to say, "I want the PTE to keep going because I want to test new things and so on." Is there going to be a decision making made at some point? What's the current status at the moment? The idea is to keep the two separate, right?
Yes, we will keep them. There is no decision yet about how we will evolve it. No solid stuff. So concerning what we will bring first, it's the stuff that will not break anything in the game. So we are speaking about scenarios made by players about.
So again, and hats off to these guys. I will say, as much as this is kind of the criticism, they've done a really good job, and I understand how difficult that this is going to be to make all these changes, and obviously why they have the PT in the first place, because they don't want to implement these changes and then go right back and have to redo them or whatever, because people don't like the bouncing. So I understand, and it sounds like the developers want to continue with this PTE because they get to test everything, right? And it's really their best dream come true to be able to do that. But, like the host is kind of saying, it's like, this is a player split, right? And then what do you do? Like, all the progress that people have made on the PT, like, how are you merging that into the progress of the vanilla game? Because right now it's like you either are playing PT or you're either playing vanilla. It's just exactly what they said. And, kind of what they said was basically, I don't know if you said it in that portion that we played right there, but, they don't have a plan necessarily to end it. So that's what concerns me the most there. Then they talk about the tournaments, like we already mentioned before. And then we'll go forward to the overview. They talk about kind of the path forward and the overview there.
So yeah, in some stuff that was really planned, some stuff like line of sight 2, that was like we had a little breakthrough inside the tech team about it, but we still polished that. That's generally how we proceed. Yeah. So all the features that we did not yet started, they are in the plan for this year, and I hope that we will deliver them all. So I see, for example, offline skirmish lobbies. That's something on the short list to be started. Yeah, like you see, we need to allocate like our resources between technical depth, between major features and small features, and that's generally how we proceed. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, because that you're making this distinction, because I think that in a grand scheme of things, you've got like a development team that's made of human beings. You've got to allocate resources to very specific tasks, and then you've got to integrate all these things and then test them and deliver them. And every bit added to the game.
Okay, so yeah, they're talking about resources and how long it's going to take to do all this. So basically, you can kind of see here everything that's checkmarked is things they've already done. So like, that's nice. They did the Baltic. Okay. Let's see. So major features that are coming, I guess this is like soon-ish. Doesn't really give a timeline. In 2026, I'm guessing, is what it's saying. Replays, my big one. Technical groundwork for replays. Massive network refactoring. Switch to server authority. Save games. And then spectator mode. All right. I'm not sure what these arrows mean, if they're just like ideas that haven't been initiated yet. Some of the other ones, so quality of life improvements. Again, I don't know if this has a time frame on this. But it says access to chat during preparation phase. That would be really nice. Ability to select enemy units to view their stats. That would also be very nice. I haven't heard of that one yet. Unit statistics panel improvement, unit ghost UI improvements, line of sight tool rework. This is a big one. Honestly, that's probably the biggest one that I hear. Don't think the line of sight is quite where it needs to be. They have a really good line of sight system, or at least a base for it. It's just like really messed up. You guys know if you play the game in a lot of areas. Okay, early 2020. Okay, so then we have the specialization Russia spec. So this says the one that they, if I haven't already played the part of the clip, but this is should be done by the end of the summer is what they gave them till. And then the number 3 USA spec plus Russian units. So I haven't heard much about that, but I guess it'll be by the end of 2026. Early 2027 faction DLC 1, new campaign, new biome, lots of maps. So this is probably going to be the China DLC that they're talking about. Specialization DLC number 4, Russian allied spec. So another spec coming next year as well. So we will see how long they kind of, and I don't see it, something kind of mentioned, I haven't mentioned in this video, but I mentioned before, is kind of the rework of like unranked, ranked, like elo. Like I just feel like it's very hard to find a match within your elos because it spreads us out even more, and it's already kind of a small game, small community. So I don't know. I would like them to at least like acknowledge it, kind of the problems with the rank system right now. But you know, pretty decent plan to move forward. And I think the last thing I'll show is just the spec overview, kind of what they were talking about. Play a little bit of that here.
Well, I would say that for me, one of the most important feature is the spectator observer mode, which will allow the tournaments to happen in the big scheme. And
so again, talking
really
about these tournaments.
But yeah, I would say second big stuff is the general overhaul of the game engine that we are making. I know that not much progress is seen, but like it will be visible in the long run. And our plan is.
Yeah. So of course it's hard about where are we?
Summer. We have for the rails of, as a
work. There's anything you can
to release a new campaign with single player content. It will bring so I mean we plan to release a new campaign with it. It's going to be a bit shorter, well, quite shorter, and it will happen on new maps. I'm really amazed about the locations we have chosen for the new map so far. So that's generally the plan for this DLC.
So it looks like with the main additions at T72 Alpha AV or something like that. So just another T72 variant, or I don't think, yeah, they have T72s in this game, but yeah, so that's interesting. They're adding more of those Tiger AG30s. So yeah, some more infantry vehicles, transport vehicles.
Yeah. So you're saying so there's going to be both single player and the unit. So it's going to be like a pretty meaty DLC, right? Not a small thing.
Yeah, it's our like as a junior title, we are progressing in each step a bit more than the first one. So let's say the official release, it was a big work made during several years. We had time to develop it, to think in advance several months, and here we are in quite much shorter terms. So we need to rebuild the company. It's what we are still doing.
This looks like an ADA. It could be artillery, but that looks ADA to me.
And to let's say move to a different rails of production, and that's a challenge for us, honestly. But yeah, we are working on that. So this DLC, it will bring more content if we compare with the Baltic Battalion, which didn't include any campaign so far.
That's really cool. Is there anything that you're like it excites you more about what's coming up?
Okay, so yeah, they talk a little bit more, but yeah, you can kind of see those units that they're adding. Few tanks, few IFV transport type things, kind of smaller. I don't know how like much armor. It probably won't have much armor at all. But you know, I had some ADA on it. They had some other interesting weapon systems, and then I'll have to look up what that one unit was. That's either ADA or artillery. I just don't know off the top of my head. But very interesting stuff. I would say hopefully they continue to listen to the community. I really do strong support of the PTE, but they kind of have to move along with it now and kind of execute on this. Yeah, like I would say the community's been pretty open to everything, but they also want to see results. So we'll see if they, follow through with this. I hope they will, but only time will tell. But all right, you guys, thanks again. That's all for this one. I will be giving updates on this kind of stuff frequently as much as possible, honestly. So if you guys enjoy Broken Arrow content, if you enjoy army strategy, tactics, any of that kind of content, please like, follow, subscribe. Again, partnered with BAArmory.net. And we also have a Patreon that we just stood up. So you guys go support if you'd like. But I really appreciate your time. And I will see you next time.